First of all, a big shout out to Eggman. I used a template or what he uses for the top 16, just copied it into my own sheets and input the updated deck list here as well. I sent it over to him as well, just in case he wants to use it for his own video. But as you can see here, you got 6 in the top 16 for Eustace Captain Kid, 4 Kaidos, 4 Laws, 1 Doffy, and 1 Luffy. And having participated in the Treasure Cup, I ran Kid myself and definitely saw a lot of Kid around me. I particularly didn't run into many Kid in my 9 rounds of Swiss. However, every time I looked around, I was always surrounded by at least 1 to 3 Kid players. Surprising that Luffy is up there and not Zoro, but I did have doubts with what Eggman was saying in terms of how he does prefer Luffy over Zoro. But well, that's me having played Zoro for like the whole month of December. I did come across 3 Luffys actually during the event and beat 2 of them, spoiler alert. And yeah, it is a solid deck, especially against Kid, a lot more slower pace, and then you can bring out your big beaters in order to get rid of their Kids. But here is the top 16. Let's get into the first place. In first place, here we have Jose's Law. I had the pleasure of meeting him at Griffin's Gaming in Birmingham, where they were hosting some testing event. He was there with another bunch of Spanish players. Shout out to Kio as well, who I met during the Treasure Cup. I did manage to interview him, so check out the interview on my channel as well, a 3-minute one. And also, AIBO has got a more in-depth interview with him where you get to see his matchups. I unfortunately didn't get to interview him as long as I would have, because they were pulling him away to get prizes. But yeah, you can go check out AIBO's channel to see an in-depth interview. We got 4 Atamas, 4 Choppers. It seems pretty standard to me. I guess the only thing here that is a bit surprising is the X-Drake. So 1 X-Drake, 1 Law, and also the 1 Basil Hawkins. And the reason why he's got 1 of each is because they all deal with all types of decks. So you got Basil for just the pressure, that matches up very well against all decks. You've got the 1 X-Drake as well to deal with Doffy. And this Law is just good and generally good in this deck to restand Supernovas like Luffy, Basil, X-Drake to just swing into extra bodies or even life for that matter. In second place, we have Mirkho's Kid deck. I had the pleasure of interviewing him as well, so which you can find out on my channel. What surprised me were the Penguin and Shachi blockers. So personally, when I started to play Kid, I did run 2 to 3 Shachi in the beginning because I did like the thought of, okay, when I bring out the 8-drop Kid, then I use his effect to bring out a blocker, and then suddenly, now I have something to protect him with. But what Mirkho's way of thinking with regards to this is, okay, I've got Shachi and Penguin, possibly if I have them both in hand, I've got 10 Don active. Okay, use 8 Don to play 8-drop Kid, rest him to play Shachi and then, or even Penguin, and if you've got 1 of each in hand, then that means you've already got 2 blockers on the field because they both play each other if you have them in hand. So play Shachi and you got Penguin in hand and you play Penguin. And then, so that's your 8 Don. You've used 8-drop Kid, already brought out 2 3-cost blockers at the cost of nothing. You got 2 active Don left. Obviously, you put 1 onto the 8-drop Kid, so then they have to attack into him. And then if you've got Capone in hand as well, then you've got another 3rd blocker to protect your 8-drop Kid. Having interviewed him, he said, yeah, the main focal points of this deck is definitely the 8-drop Kid. That is the winning condition for this deck. And plays 4 Basil Hawkins in order to just keep applying pressure. So you've got the ultimate defense in the 8-drop and then the ultimate offense with the Basil. You've got X-Drakes as well of the 5-drop OPO1 to KO a rested character of 4 or less. I can imagine this would help in most matches like Doffy, for example, and in general most decks that you're going to be facing. You got the 6k power of X-Drake as well to apply even more pressure. He's also playing 3 Beppos, and the reason why I think this is just to further protect your 8-drop kid. Because when I ran kid, I was only running 8 2k counters. So here he has a total of 11. Next up, we've got the 3rd place Kaido. Got 2 Kurozumi Orichis for counters. I particularly like this card because you can potentially play him. It's a 2k beta in order to get rid of Bonnies, Momos, and other searchers that are just chilling on the board and that you don't want to waste an attack with one of your stronger characters. Running 1 Who's Who. I get it. If you draw it from life, then you can use him and potentially KO Robins or Kiku's. All the annoying 3 costs, even Zoro's actually. Anything that is really annoying you on your opponent's character's board. Got 4 Sasaki's just in case you don't draw into Oni, and then you can start using his effect to trash a card and add a Don, and then rest it. Got 4 X-Drakes, 4 ultis, mainly for 2k counters. Potentially use X-Drake to thin out your opponent's hand. And also as a beta, I had a play on me actually where my opponent didn't draw into Oni and just played the Drake anyway, just so he can start attacking my board. Queens 4 is a necessity because this doesn't have any draw power at all, and with Queen only being the draw power in this deck, Queen is very essential. Got 3 of each in terms of 3 kings, 3 of each king and 3 of each Kaido. I feel like that's a very good balance. When looking through some of the deck lists, I've seen more of the starter deck as opposed to the OPO1, and usually actually with the Kaidos it's more enough even. Sometimes I'll see more of the 10-drop. However, me personally, I do prefer the Rush Kaido. I got 4 Blast Breaths, 2 Thunder Bagwas, 1 Brachio Bomber. Brachio Bomber, good for just instant removal, and on top of that trigger effect, you can add a Don from your Don deck and set it as active. For Onis, that is the winning condition of this deck. Once this deck gets rolling, it's near enough impossible to beat. But so you draw into Oni, then you start bringing out your kings, Kaido. It just becomes a complete nightmare for your opponent if you draw everything on curve. Going down to 11th place, we have the only red deck in the top 16, which is Luffy, not Zoro. Luffy did really well across most treasure cups. I believe in Long Beach, Luffy won there as well. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I was not a believer in Luffy at all. Every time I was watching Eggman's videos, he kept bigging up Luffy, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. Zoro is the way forward. But I got humbled seriously from the results of this. So the way that Luffy works as opposed to Zoro is a lot more slower pace. You can reuse Don, and you run out of steam a lot more less because you aren't using your Don to attach to your leader in order to use effect. You're actually recycling that Don. So let's get into it. You got 4 Atamas. Yep, that is natural. Atama is very important in this deck for 2k counters and even to get rid of Kid for choppers. I've seen a lot more other red builds, mainly Zoro builds where we don't run Zoros and you just want to be a bit more aggro. Namis for searchers. You got Gordon here as well for 2k counter. On top of that, you can play him if you feel like you brick a bit. Play him 2 costs and then you can recycle a card. So for example, if you, for whatever reason, draw 2 Beckmans and 2 Shanks, play him. Got a beta as well to get rid of any searchers. Sanji, 2k counter and also playable. Brook mainly for 2k life. Robin's very annoying. As soon as Robin comes out, I just want to I need to get rid of her ASAP. 2 Utas to potentially bring back Namis or even Zoro back to the hand. Only running 3 Rush Zoros and running 1 starter deck Zoro. Very surprising. I would have assumed that you just max out on the Rush. I can see why though with the other Zoro. I mean, you're going to wait a turn with most of these cards anyway, especially the vanilla ones. So if you can add a Don to that Zoro, and then you can start. He gains another additional 1k power. Then you can start swinging for 7k, that magic number. Running of the 4-drop Brook. So this one, I actually found it really useful when I ran my mid-range Zoro back in December. But then again, it was a bit too slow. But it came in clutch quite a few times where you attach one Don, and then you can minus 2k on 2 of your opponent's characters. This works really well if you're playing Robin, Jet Pistol, or even just want to get rid of some of their lower cards. And you can, let's just say, for example, you was in a mirror match, and then your opponents had rested Zoros on board. Then if you attack with Brook, you minus that Zoro, and then potentially if you have a 1 Don attached to your own Zoro, then you can swing with Nami 3k into that rested Zoro. So very a very good card in my opinion, just a little bit slow. I see more of this next card, which is the 4-drop Trafalgar Law, the promo one, can be used in order to get rid of Kid and then potentially another beta the next turn. So another possibility there. You got Luffy as well, very standard. At least minimum you need to run 3 in red decks. I like to max out at 4. Effect is just busted, run through blockers. You've got 2 of the Ben Beckman, which is really nice to see. Yet, I mean, at 9k, imagine that this is going to be very hard to take off the board. You don't really want to be wasting resources to try take this out. And then running 2 Shanks. When I was running Zoro, my latest build, I was running 2 Shanks. Comes in, comes in very helpful at times. What I usually saw is that when I would drop my 8-drop Kid, they would bring out their Shanks, not attack, and just leave him standing. Be like, look, okay, fine. If you start to use your 8-drop Kid's effect, just know that my Shanks are just going to run through that 8-drop. If you don't have any blockers or big counters in your hand. 2 Radical Beams, which is really good. This came in clutch when I was facing opponents. For me, I found this to be a really good card, especially when it was used against me. Imagine only 1 cost, and if you have 2 or less life, then counter becomes 9k. Then you got 2 Sabodis to probably search for your Luffy, Zoros, other cards that you may need, and obviously if you play it off trigger as well, just play this effect with no cost. And then you've got 4 Jet Pistols. I mean, really want to be maxing out with Jet Pistols in a Luffy or Zoro deck, because that 8-drop Kid is a problem. In 11th place, we have the only Doffy in top 16, just like the Luffy. Everything else was Kaido, Law, and Kid. Doffy here, you've got the Gap Laws, Coronas to set up the leader effect along with the blocker Doffy. Alvidas for counter, and also as a nuisance to bounce cards back to their hand. Kind of see it like a poor girl's Robin, just not KOing. Got 3 Marshall D teachers. A problem when you are facing this card is a problem when you're playing with green. Bounce back your Kikus, things that you're just trying to set up with. For Kumas, so on KO, then you can summon a Pacifista with a cost of 4 less from your hand, and we can see that they are running 3 Pacifistas just below here. Boa, I see Boa as the same threat as Akiku and Robin. This card needs to be Jet Pistoled, or just getting rid of ASAP, because if you allow her to just stay on the field and constantly blocking and then attacking you, and that draw power's there, it needs to be gone ASAP. And if you do Jet Pistol Boa and they've set themselves up, then you've potentially ruined what their order is. So I feel like when they do bring out Boa, then they have a plan in mind in terms of what they want to be drawing into. So if you can get rid of that Boa ASAP, then that plan is halted for now. Gecko Moria, another great card to bring back blockers, Marshall D Teach back into the hand, or even 2k counters. Got Dracula Mihawk as well to potentially just beat down the opponent 5ks or 2k counter. Pacifistas, really want to be using that with Bartholomew, the Kuma blocker effect. feel like it's a bit of a waste if you just play it from hand unless you've got nothing there. Virgo, very good card if you just want to apply pressure. There's been times where I've seen this card just being played on curve 5, curve 6, and I'm just like, okay, how the hell am I going to get rid of this card? 7, yeah, you got the Doflamingo 7 drop to just return a card of cost of 7 back to their hand, and also the Mihawk as well. So the thing is with this deck is that the beaters aren't really that strong, hence why they run the Virgo to just apply pressure, because they're going to fill up their board anyway. So if they bring out that Virgo, you don't really want to be focusing on that. You just want to swing face, 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 unless because they're going to build up their board regardless with Doffy's effect. So when they do play that, he does become a problem because he starts clearing up your board, attacking into life. Only 4 event beams, love beams here. And so yeah, this was the different decks for the top 16. I'll put a link in the description below of this Excel spreadsheet, and you can have an insight into all of the top 16 decks. Only thing is though, is with this, one of the decks I believe is from Straw Sword. When I looked on the organized play event, this deck had some of the lines missing. So this deck, which is placed 7th, is currently incomplete. But everything else is the same. You can go and check out Facebook, their Facebook page, organized play events, and you can have a look at the full deck list here, or you can just have a look at all of the links that I've provided. Yeah, shout out to Eggman for even creating this spreadsheet, and I can then use it as a template, send it over to him so he can potentially use it for his own channel. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one. If you've enjoyed the video, Gomu Pistol that like button, subscribe if you want to be Nakama, and hit that Shandorian bell to be notified on future videos. My name is Mello. Thanks for watching. Peace, love, and stay blessed.